Wow, welcome back. And I'm sure this has been interesting. And so we are back again. Carol has talked about taking your position as a pastor's wife, knowing who you are, what is your congregants. And congregants doesn't mean church. People around you. What do you do? What is your gifting? What is your gifting? What do you have to show? You know, if you're given a platform here, what do you have to show?
Exactly.
So here we are, and we are back at it. So, Carol.
Yes.
Yes. Now that assume now I have not taken my position yet. I've not discovered who I am.
Okay.
Okay. I am still in that place of behind Tony, still riding on Tony's anointing.
I remember that space.
And then Tony has left group in terms of amekuwa brand.
We're like, oops.
You're like, Allah, I was to be left. And everybody who is supposed to be addressing you, they don't address you, they address him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you know what? That happens. Because like I said, not just for pastors' wives, but wives generally, we go through periods, you're raising children, you're not available as you could be. So many things, so many changes. But then the thing is this, as you're looking for that platform, why would we listen to you? That's what I had to ask myself. What do I have to offer when I am not Pastor Tony Kiama's wife, when I am not a pastor at the River of God Church? Do I still have something that I can give and contribute to the body of Christ? You know, it's so irritating for me, if I could use that word, when I hear some of my counterparts saying, you know, oh, the pastor's wife is not given her space. Come on, who's ever given space? This world, nobody's going to give you space.
You create space.
You create space. And you must have, if you want us to listen to you, you better have something that you have to say, you know. And when you have something to say, people will eventually listen. And they didn't start listening today or tomorrow, you know. And you must have that conviction that you actually do have, and you, first and foremost, you better have something to say. We start from there. Yeah, and you better have something to give, because people follow leaders. That is just the nature of people. We follow people we admire. So have I positioned myself in a place that people would, what is there about me to admire? The way I carry myself, the way I dress, the way I sit, the way I address issues, because it's not always about money, and it's not always even about clothes. It's about the person. So determining your space. You would say, oh, maybe I don't have the money to dress a certain kind of way. I mean, look at Mother Teresa. She wasn't like a fashion icon. She wasn't fashionable stepmom. She wasn't. But she had something to say, you know. Look at some of the people who speak. They're not always the world's most good-looking people, but they have something to say, you know. So you must know what is this that, as you know, the problem sometimes, and more so now with us, is that you're just a packaging. You know, and when you open this beautiful box, there's nothing inside. So you cannot expound all your energy on the box. It matters, the box matters, but what matters more is on the inside. So as you're waiting for that opportunity, just make sure you have something to say and that you're prepared, because the opportunity will come. I'm such a big believer that God will give you the platform. God gives you your space to occupy. So you better be knowing what you're going to do with that space when you get it. And for some of us, it took us years before anybody thought I had anything to say. Even when we came to this church, I had to fight for every inch of space. Pastor Tony opened the door for me, and the Lord did, but they weren't the ones who were going to walk in it. I needed to walk into that space and prove myself in the arena. I needed to prove myself among the big boys. And I believe that right now at the River of God Church, I'm not just the pastor's wife, that in myself as a person, I have the right to speak. That being a pastor's wife was the platform that was afforded to me, but I have done something with the platform. And I choose to believe that even if anything was to happen to Pastor Tony today, and Lord forbid, he decides to go ahead of me, imagine, and Niache, that was not the plan. But in the event he did that, that I would still be able to speak into people's lives because I seized that opportunity as it was presented to me. So maybe speaking to a pastor's wife, what are you waiting for? Being the pastor's wife is the platform. Being the pastor's wife is the platform. Don't blame Mama Assembly. She started from a disadvantage. Imagine how she had to build her brand without the help of the pastor. You already, you know, when a pastor is introduced, you expect the wife would say something. So in itself, it's a platform. So what else are you waiting for? If you have not seized it, you have not seized it. Just being called bibia pastor, by the way, inafungwanga milango. Hata kama pastor hatafungua milango ingine, alikuoa. Alikuoa, fact. So, wewe jipeleke kwa ladies ministry, start looking like you have something to say. Hata kama wewe si mama leader, you just appear there.
Position yourself.
The fact that you appear there and you're the pastor as well, even if it's out of courtesy, watakupatia hiyo mlango, because all of us enter leadership via position sometimes. And then once ukipatiwa ako tuka opening, ukuwe kama elephant. Kuingia, ni kupenya, unajua?
Unajua.
For the kingdom. Unless of course you have nothing to say. Because the truth of the matter, the title will only take you this far.
Yes.
The clothes will only take you this far.
You're
the
right.
good looks will only take you this far. If you're nothing, with 10 people are going to recognize that. And they're going to move on to the next thing.
I know.
Yeah.
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 And it's not easy. I am tending to
It's
ask.
hard.
It's very hard. And let me just ask this. What do I do as a broken pastor's wife? I have tried to create the space. I have tried to do all these things. Yes, my husband has actually been a champion of shutting me down, number one. Then I come to the congregants, it's the same. So how do I rise from the pain and then become?
Let me tell you something. I don't believe that there's any time when all doors are closed, hardly. Sometimes you've just been knocking on the wrong door. So you need to ask yourself, what is the space? You see, our platforms will be different. Like when I go to heaven, I don't expect that I will be graded using the same measure that God will grade Billy Graham. Because he knows me, he knows I'm in Africa, he knows I don't have the money to go to all these big platforms. Nobody's knocking at my doors, breaking their legs to have me speak in their conferences. Even here in this Kenya, I can tell you, Susan, for free. I don't think I've ever been actually called to speak in any conference. I've been a Christian for 35 years. But that hasn't stopped me from speaking. You get? Because the opening that the Lord gives you is what he will judge you for. Even if it's just one person, even if it's just two people. And let me tell you, when you're shut down, there are people who are also being shut down. So they are watching you to see, how do you live that gracefully? How do you still honor your husband even when he looks like he's your greatest critic? And they're learning something. They're learning something. So you begin to recognize that is my platform, that I need to navigate this space with grace, because it's not always that people... It's not always we speak with words. It's not always we speak with words.
Action.
Sometimes we speak with actions. The way we graciously live our lives. And I can tell every pastor's wife this: you are a public figure. People are watching you. They're watching how you're raising your kids. They're watching how you hang out with your husband. They watch how you dress. I remember people coming to tell me, "Oh, your nail polish has chipped. I've never seen you with chipped polish." And all the months, they never came and commented, "Oh, your polish looks nice." They only saw when it got chipped. Yeah? Or they'd be like, "Oh, you've added weight. I didn't know. I used to have such a nice shape." But when I had the nice shape, nobody mentioned. They only noticed. So those things are going to happen. But what does that speak to me? I have a responsibility. I can build a tent on, yani hawa watu wamenichukuliaje? Or I can build a tent on, wow, you know what, these guys are watching. So what do I want them to see? How do I want them to see Christ in me? And that mind shift makes all the difference. So then you don't start getting stressed. "Oh, I want to be, nobody gives me a chance to be Kathy Kuna." And nobody's going to give you, because guess what? You are not Kathy. You're not Kathy, you're you. So the issue then becomes, me as a pastor in Muranga, where I come from, or in Kangema, or Kabara, a village is called Kabara, or where I got married in Nyeri. Me as a pastor there, what do I have to offer to in the platform, to the 50 people, 100 people, 5 people that are listening to me and have given me that space in their lives? And if I'm faithful in that, God will begin to expand that space. Yeah.
So it starts small.
It starts small, and it starts just being faithful with where you're at. And as you're faithful in that space, let me tell you, God is so good. He will open up. And then, if you had 5 haters, now you'll have 15, you'll have 100. Then people will be complaining, "Oh, Where does she always wear high shoes? Who does she think she is? What? Then you, again, constantly choosing which voice is speaking into my life. Constantly choosing to listen to that small, still voice. I remember when I was in campus, one of my lecturers, she's called Dr. Barnett. I think she's still in Daystar. She shared something with me that I've never forgotten. She says, Carol, choose to live your life to the audience of one.
Wow.
Choose to live your life to the audience of one. Even my husband, I cannot please. Even my kids. I mean, if you ask my kids, they would be better parents by far. Just like I thought I'd be a better parent than my parents. So nobody, you're never going to please everyone 100%. So then if that's the case, then I better know that the person I'm living to please is Christ. So that even if Tony doesn't agree with me, and I can tell you he doesn't always agree with me, like we work together, he's my boss. At home, up a job. So there's sometimes I'm thinking this is the year of the idea of the century. Inapigwa tuka, oops, I have a responsibility. Did I really believe in that idea? Sometimes I'll go present it like this, present it like this, present in a cut one, in a cut. Then I'm like, you know what, it is okay. It's not the time for it. The time will come. So what do? I go and polish that idea and fix it. Baka school and itapatwa hiyo platform. I'm not starting from square zero. I'm coming with that. Yeah, I'm coming with the brand.
You have something.
Yeah.
I think I'm liking the idea of the audience of one, because sometimes we listen too much.
Yes.
Too much. And for me, I think I got to a space where I had to tell myself, hey, in whose voice are you obeying? Because there are too many. And this is what I would say, love yourself. Manze, look at yourself in a mirror and tell yourself you're beautiful. You're worth serving the Lord. All right? It's a tough thing to do every morning or every evening. Even when you feel there is no love, tell yourself you're lovable. I think identity begins there. And I'm sure, Carol, you have gone through those journeys where you had to speak, to have a self conversation.
A committee myself.
That is a very serious, and I think probably you can give us a brief of that phrase, that season, and what made you come out and become who Carol is today, from being told you're fat, from being told, unajua kuna mtu aliona molo anatuna kusema she does not qualify to be pastor's wife. So how do you come?
All those wonderful words of life.
Yes.
Yeah. I think for me, it always happens in bursts. Every season of my life, there are always those people who are going to come and shut me. And let me tell you, and I tell people this all the time, and they think I'm lying. If I had chosen my own life, I would be those people who sit in the middle of the pew, have 2.5 children. You know, mediocre, yani tuka lefa poka kupenye hapo tu katikati hakuna. I do not like the public space. I know people are like, you're kidding me. That's the truth. I remember when I came to this church, I used to sing seated so people don't see who it is. But guess what? That is not the life God had for me. All the time I'm being thrust in people's faces like a cancer. And for somebody who likes to be loved, let me say, I've not received the love a lot or as much as I thought I needed to receive it. But I had to reach a point where I realized, you know what, and I'm in half time. I mean, I've lived half my life unless I'm planning to be there for very many years. So how long am I going to live my life for people? The most current one is a job I had, and I was doing all these things, and I thought we were working together. And you know how there are people who get upset because you're doing good things, and they're thinking, tukone tunaenda heaven moja, si tufurahi tuna build church. Na wanashinda sasa haka kanaona yeye ni nani, why is she getting all these things? And the people who stab you at the back are the people you least expect. I was so painful. And all these things I was trying to do, I think God wanted me to leave, and I was insisting, you know, because it was comfortable, and I wanted to be liked, and I wanted to be there and everything, and it just was not working for me. And I had to go back and ask myself, there are all these things I've been told, and you know there's some truths you don't want to hear because they didn't come out in love. But then I asked myself, who do I want to position? And actually 2021 for me was a year I just sat down and took stock, and I said, Sasa, what is the brand I'm sending forth in the name of Carol Kiama? How do I want her to look? How do I want her to dress? How do I want her to talk? What are the things she's going to be about in this year? And that was so freeing. And I could just decide, I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to dress this way anymore. This is the person I want myself to become. And I didn't need an audience. I didn't feel the need to call my sister or call my husband and say, oh, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And that was freedom for me. Because before, I would feel God telling me something, but I would always want to run the idea through somebody because I didn't trust me. See, I had been so beaten down that I didn't think I could trust my own judgment. But just consistently walking with God and having him affirm me, having him remind me that, you know what, you are my child. I have no grandchildren. You're not a poor relative from Shags who's come to Jipox in my kingdom.
I like
You're
that.
my child. You're my child the same way your husband is my child. The same way so-and-so is my child. You are my child. And so I have something for you to do. Don't be so concerned about who agrees with me or who loves you for it. I love you. Let that be enough. And for me, I realized, you know what, actually, what's my problem? Why do I think everybody has to like me? And what does it matter? It doesn't. Am I doing the right thing? Yes. Will it upset some people? Yes. Are there people I get upset over in issues that are none of my business? Yes. So in the same way, I get upset, I also upset others, and that is fine. The thing is, the only control I have is about me and the platform that has been available for me and how I'm going to seize that platform. Are there doors that have been shut on my face? All the time. Even sometimes just looking at the Kenya Assemblies of God, I sometimes feel like there's so much more I could be doing. And sometimes I get frustrated. I feel like, hey guys, I'm here. I'm woni, you know. But guess what, hawaoni? And it's okay. Wataona, you know, temio ikifika wataona. In the meantime, will I just stand there, mark timing? What am I doing to prepare myself, you know? And I want to give a godly example. When you think about the life of David, and I just love David, the Bible talks about how he killed the lion and the bear and how he shot Goliath. You know, he shot Goliath with a sling, yeah? But think about it. David had spent so many days in the wilderness when nobody thought he was anything. And there he would be practicing. Maybe ameboeka na practice ndio ya ndagonga ile mti. Sasa nimegonga ile mti. Sasa ndagonga 100 meters. So he became so good. He could hit anything within any kind of distance. And he might have thought ana kill 2 time because unajua by the kondoo awananga job mob. Makondoo ukishapatia moja bell, job yako tu ni kulala, si kambuzi. At least mbuzi watafanya kitu ya kukuchangamsha. So guy had time, but he used his time well. So much so that when he met that giant, he could shoot and not miss. And that's it. When you're sitting in that wilderness, when nobody notices you, what is it that you're doing so that when the opportunity presents itself, you're so good that you cannot miss?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, I think too much information for self-identity. I'm sure even those who are listening, the directors and the producers, I'm sure you're also learning something, though you're not pastors' wives. So it is, I think it's for all of us. Self-identity is for basically all of us. But I chose this line because I've seen it affect so many people, so many families. Your children hate God, all right? Your children hate God because of what they've seen in you. So even as we come to the end of this show, I would like our guest to give us her last remarks. And what would you tell that pastor's wife who feels she's not worth, she's not in that space, she's not, yeah, she's in that wilderness. As we say, pastor's wife, arise and build you. What would be your last remarks?
My last remarks would be like, in that wilderness, just know you're a child of God and just keep practicing. The opportunity is coming. The platform will come. And it had better find you ready, because sometimes all we need is just that one shot. You miss it and it's a wrap. Yeah. So don't get caught up in what people are saying. You just practice.
Wow. Wow. Hey, I have learned. Harakati ya hiyo story, tumechapwa viboko. Harakati ya hiyo story, we've just been told the truth. And that is what we need to know, that we cannot stay in the same place. The Bible says a righteous man falls 7 times, but they don't stay there, they arise. So a woman, a pastor's wife, a servant, arise. It is your season. And as our guest has said, create your space. uko kwa hiyo wilderness, hakunotice hata husband yako hakuoni anything, like just married. You know, like I have had somebody say I married her to give birth. Ushaanza ukamaliza. No, create your space. And may God bless you. This was She with Sue. I was your host, Sue Kiruma.